All right, see Kenneth. Hi, Kenneth. Cheers. All right, I think we can start slowly. I have just few slides to share with you. Then we dive into the technical presentation. All right, so this webinar is organized, and this technical session is organized by the team of Brainboard. So just quickly to give a definition about Brainboard, it's a solution that allows you to visually build and manage cloud infrastructures. So what does it mean? It means that you can go as fast and as secure as possible from specs about building the infrastructure into valid Terraform code and maintain the lifecycle of the infrastructure, and also manage the deployment. And maybe by the end of the session, we'll be sharing with you what's coming next. This is like as a teaser. So this is Brainboard. Just about me, I'm Shafiq. I'm the founder of Brainboard, and I'm an engineer. Actually, I've been working in the industry in the last 16 years. And I was even the CTO of Brainboard, of Scaleway, which is a French cloud provider, the third biggest cloud provider in Europe, as far as I know. And I'm today with Marsela, which is our cloud architect. She joined us recently, and she is actually Azure and Terraform expert. She has all certifications of Azure. I'm really impressed. The first time I talked with her, I was really impressed. Even the cybersecurity one, which is a little bit tough. She is also a trainer, DevOps trainer. So feel free to reach out to her if you want any technical question, to answer any technical question. Yes, feel free to talk to her. I will let her introduce herself. Then we can move forward into what was the objective of the session today. Marsela,
Hello,
let us
everyone.
know about you.
Hi. So I'm Marsela. I've been working as a cloud architect, as a DevOps engineer for the past couple of years with big companies. I was so excited when I met you and I met everybody from Brainboard and I knew the platform, because I saw that we could enhance automation further. So I'm really excited to be here and to have this session with you.
Yeah, and this is very interesting point that you highlighted, your knowledge about complex use cases and complex infrastructure, and that's why I wanted today to start with it. Like the first webinar, your first webinar is like deep dive into a landing zone. Yes, and this is the objective of today. So we'll be building landing zone, but not just hub and spoke, but zooming into the firewall, the configuration, right, and the Kubernetes. You will be building even Kubernetes cluster with Azure KeyVault and so on. We're excited to see what's next. So yeah, I stop my sharing my screen and let you share, and let's start.
All okay, right. Thank you. So I will share my screen. So you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the way we are going to build this session today is
it's a bit smaller.
Yep.
If you can make it maybe a little bit bigger.
It's okay.
If you can still make it a little bit bigger, or maybe we can see in the design. It seems like it's put in a screen which is that is small.
Okay, let me try to share my screen in a different way.
Perfect.
Because I want you to be able to work with me, because this session today will be a session where we will work together. So
yes. All right, it's much better.
Okay, great. So what we will build today, it will be a landing zone. Now, there are many ways that we can build a landing zone. We can start with a complex one and add all the components or we can start with some main resources that we can have and build upon it. So build a foundation. And the second case, we will do it today. We will start with a landing zone, and when we will finish, we can also build upon it and scale, because that's one of the functionalities of Azure, of Cloud, of Terraform, the ability to scale. So we will start by, before I continue, probably because there are some people here who maybe are new to Brainboard. Welcome if they are new and this is the first time that you see Brainboard. You can as well check videos that my colleagues have made for Brainboard, but maybe I can explain that this is the first thing that you see when you come to Brainboard, to this platform. It's this visual design, this window where we will see the visual design. And also we have this other area here where we can see also the code. But during this session, you will see everything and all the options that Brainboard has. Let's start with the location. This is a container. I call it a container where I put everything else. So because I like variables, in here I will use a variable. I have pre-configured some variables because I wanted to save some time. It's a short session, so there is not enough time to configure everything. But I pre-configured some variables as the location or the IPs, but we will see everything later. So the first thing, I will configure the location. So we have the location here. And after I create the location, I configure this basic container, let's say, we'll start with the landing zone. Now we will use, for the purpose of this demo, we will use one subscription. So we won't use many subscriptions, but the concept will be similar. We will have like two resources that will represent the hub and the spoke, and then we will have VNet peering, and every other component that you can have also in two subscriptions. So the first resource will be the hub one.
Just as a lot of people are asking about if the session is recorded, yes, the session is recorded. You will be able to have it. And also the architecture that Marsela is building today, it's she is going to put it in the templates catalog that you can find it easily and use it. So this information for everyone.
So we created first the resource group for the hub. Now we will create the resource group for the spoke.
So this is like the first part where you are preparing the network, right? Like you have the hub and spoke.
Yes, correct. So
VNet and subnets, right?
Correct. So inside these resource groups, I will add the VNet for the spoke and the VNet for the hub.
Okay.
This is what normally a cloud architect would do when they are designing an infrastructure. So I'm taking a simple scenario where a customer has come to me and they want a landing zone. They have a Kubernetes cluster. They have an application there. This application is accessed by different users, but also from developers, because of course there will be some people who will develop this application, and also they have some entity on premise. So this is like how I would start my work. I would create these two resource groups that will represent the hub and spoke in the landing zone.
Marsela, maybe if you put your Chrome browser in full screen, it's much better, because you will be building like, yes, much better, I think. Yes.
Thank you. So after we create these two resource groups, the next thing that we would do is to create the virtual networks. So in Brainboard, everything is so easy. We can just drag and drop, and it detects that it's inside the resource group. So I don't have to put the information for the resource group. So for the other space, as I said, I configured some variables.
Yeah, you prepared the webinar by preparing the variables, which is really helpful because we can show different use cases.
Yes, correct.
I think if you search hub, just hub, you can you'll be able to. Yes.
That happens when you have a lot of variables.
Yeah, that's why the search is optimized to with the keywords that you can find that you can set.
Yeah, but the good things, we have 4 eyes here and not just 2, so that's good. So we have the VNet hub. So let's just put the name so that it's like visually it's more understanding. And also when I will build on this VNet, at least I know that this is the VNet for the hub and the other one for the spoke. So let's take the other one. I'll try to be as quickly as possible in this part because I know this part is simple, just configuring VNets and subnets, but we will build other resources on these VNets and subnets. So just be a bit patient here.
That's yeah, this is like part of the basic preparation. And we wanted to do it live, actually. We didn't want like to pre-build things to show you how like in few minutes you'll be able to get things set up and start working on real use cases.
Yeah, that's true. Because I was thinking to configure this VNets, but I think it's better so that everybody sees how we are configuring everything.
Exactly. And also like this is seeing is believing. When you design and we see the Terraform code generated on the right panel live, it is like it's really helpful to make things clear, understandable.
Yeah, so at this phase over here, let me like make this bigger. I'm going to do the VNet peering.
Okay.
Because I want to connect these 2 networks so they communicate with each other.
This is like a question that I had. Why do you peer the 2 VNets, the hub and spoke?
We peer them because the communication, the connections will come to the hub, and the hub will serve like as a foundation where all the connections will come. The firewall will be there, but because the connections will have to go through the firewall, through the hub, and go to the spoke network, we need to have some connection. They need to know each other, let's say. So we built a tunnel, a communication between these 2 networks through network peering. So it will be peer hub through spoke.
It makes sense.
So remote.
I try to collect the questions as well as you go, and we will take time to answer them. Yeah, people are asking if you can zoom a bit on the design. So, which is good, is like you can just keep, yes.
Yes, I'll do that in a bit, and just a moment. Because I'm just configuring for now. I think on the VNet I need to put so yes, of course I can zoom on the design. And try to make it like as understandable as possible.
Yes.
Yeah, so for the VNet peering, so I think I added everything correctly. So the remote virtual network ID, the resource group name, which was taken automatically. And yeah, I think we're good.
All right, perfect.
Yep. So after we create the Okay, let's stay this in this view so we can, just I'm going to zoom a bit out. Now we will add the subnets that we need in the hub VNet. So let's continue with the subnet. Now we will have one subnet for the firewall. So subnet for firewall. And the subnet for firewall will have its like firewall address space, but it will have a specific name because in Azure, you need to put the names of the subnet according to the naming convention and to the rules. So in this case, if you want to create a firewall in Azure, you need to put it in a subnet that will be called Azure Firewall subnet.
Okay. And so, like, your idea is to segregate the traffic, right? Maybe you're going to explain it. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so I will have the firewall, and all the traffic will go through the firewall. So after this, we'll take the subnet. I will have a jump host.
Okay.
So the subnet for the jump host.
And yeah, one important information as well, when I use Brainboard, I used, for example, usually to use, as it generates the Terraform code, I used to use sub counts and for each. This is also something that you can do. And I guess you are depicting it on purpose to having separate subnets to drive the traffic into separate endpoints.
Yeah, because I will have different things in different subnets. That's why I'm not, like in this case, using count, but I can use count and loops also in Brainboard. But in this case, because I need to put, I would need to configure some list, and I can do it as well with count. But in this case, just for the demo purposes, we're creating like every subnet separately.
Okay.
Subnet for the VPN. We will have a VPN. And also the subnet that will have the VPN needs to have a specific name, like gateway.
Yeah, naming is one of the hardest thing for me, especially when you work with different cloud providers. I think Azure, it's kind of picky on names, capital letter, lower cases, which is not the same thing in AWS, or less, you can say.
Yeah, it has many naming conventions, and you need like to be really specific with some names. And for those who work also with Terraform, they know that even when you put a name and it looks right with the Terraform plan, then you deploy in a resource, and then you see, oh, that name is taken, for example, for the KeyVault or for some global resources. So yeah, it's a bit picky. Azure, I can say it's a bit picky with names.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I can answer, for example, one of the questions that the community is asking. For example, someone said, while waiting, any updates on the product for support for bicep or infrastructure as code? Yeah, this is a great question, actually. What you can see is, what you see here is Terraform generation. But yes, we are planning to support bicep, CloudFormation, or Azure templates, IRM. But we do not have an ATA. This will come in 2023, but we do not have an ATA yet. And talking about the naming conventions, yeah, one of the questions is, Luis is asking, should Brainboard should also allow defining naming conventions to attach to the resources, which is true. Actually, this is maybe we can do a session, Marsela, like about how to use naming conventions and tags, and especially when you have multiple environments through the variables. Mainly, I used to do it through the variables. I don't know. Yeah, this is the most obvious way to me. It is supported in Brainboard, and this is a good suggestion for another session.
Yeah, that's a good thing, because there are so many scripting things, let's say, that you can do inside a variable and inside the naming. So, for example, I use a random as a function when I want to generate some name, and also we can use the name of the application itself and generate other names from it, like for the subnets. And yeah, there are a lot of things that can be done.
Yeah, and Arno is suggesting like Azure CAF naming conventions. Yes, we use it as well. Perfect. And also we have someone is asking about all the traffic will go through firewall only if you custom route them to firewall IP. Actually, this is what you will be showing, what Marsela will be showing.
Yeah.
Yes. I think you're in the prefix, you're looking for a variable. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking for the variable for the... No, I don't think it's this one.
And yeah, we have an interesting question. Someone is asking, how would you use data source lookups? Actually, you just switch. You have next to the icon of the cloud editor, you have resources. You can click on it to switch into data, and then you have all the resources of data. You drag and drop them, and you have data. So yeah, Owe Langer, feel free to reach out to one of our cloud architects, or maybe to Tarak or Ben or Stefan, to request like a demo for a special use case. But you can do it, the data.
Yeah, I will use the data later, but just for one resource, because I want to take the tenant, and because I don't want to configure the tenant, for example, like add the values, I'm using a function current. So I'm taking the client config, and I'm using current tenant, and it will like take the value of the current tenant that I'm using to deploy this infrastructure. So yeah, it's just here for those who like want a quick answer.
Yes, all right.
Switch from data to resources.
Perfect.
Okay, so we have the application gateway, and now we will add also one subnet, one last subnet for... Yeah, I cannot find the subnet. Yep.
Yes. And I
was thinking to copy paste it from here, because you can do that too. So.
Exactly. I think we're almost done with the subnet and VNets, right?
Yes, correct. Just the last part. Database and net.
Does it support provisioners? Yes, it does support provisioners. You can edit. You can, in this configuration menu that is now Marsela is using to configure the resource, there is a section where you can add the provisioners.
So yeah, we are done with the part of network and the configuration of the subnets and everything. So if you see the schema now, maybe you will understand. You create like your schemas also in your mind, what we are going to build. So we will have this subnet where we will have the firewall, and also we will have a VM here that will be used as a jump host. We will have the VPN. Then we will have application gateway that will be connected to a Kubernetes cluster. We will have a flexible server in here, and this we will use for KeyVault, just as a private endpoint for the KeyVault, but also for other like resources that you are using, like container registry, etc. So for private endpoints. This schema, of course, can be more complex and we can add a lot of things to it, like other resources. I would like to add monitoring. So if you're interested, we can do it in another session, because that's a whole architecture, and it is also very complex if you want to add monitoring and logging for all the components that we have here. But for this session, this is what we are going to build.
Yeah.
Now let's start with the firewall.
Yeah, this is, and one of the attendees asked, will you put a firewall between subnets later? This is, yes, what you are doing now about the firewall.
So the first thing that I'm doing, okay, before I continue, I'm going to add also for the effect of the schema, so that we understand also the flow of the information.
Okay, so yeah, to depict the flow of data.
Because we have the user, like I'm putting this user in the middle because I will consider this user as the developer. We will connect with the VPN and then to the jump host and directly to the other resources. We will have also the users that will access the application, the Kubernetes, because that's the purpose of whole architecture, so that these users are able to access the application that is built and deployed in Kubernetes. So these are the users. And also I'm considering some on-premise.
Okay, yeah, you want to separate the source of the connections, like the on-premise will go into a separate path, the developer into another path, and their users into other one.
Yeah, so the developer and the office will connect in a similar way for now, because they will both use the VPN connection, but the users will be completely different. And also we can separate the office and the developer, because they can have different rights, depending on the way they are authenticating. So
can you zoom a bit on the subnet that you will be working on, that we can see it in clear way? Perfect.
Okay. So what we are going to configure the firewall. Now let's take the firewall. Now let's see, what does a firewall need? First, what kind of information it requires, what kind of configuration it needs. Because the firewall cannot just we cannot just create a firewall. We will need, if we use a module, yes, but we will need also public IP. We will need policies, so that this firewall does it work, and all the traffic it's filtered in the right way. So I'll put the firewall just here, because just to understand that we are creating this firewall, and create the public IP. Okay. Now we will put here the public IP. So.
Okay, so this is the public IP that that goes directly to the firewall.
Yes. We can as well have some DNS, because the user, the customer, let's say, or the end user won't use the IP. They will probably use some DNS. But just for this demo, we are using the public IP. Yes. So we will have, I'll call it, and it will have looking for the SKU that will be standard.
Okay.
And this way we configure the public IP. After that, we will create a firewall policy.
Is this an L4 firewall or a WAF? This is one of the questions of the users.
This is a WAF.
Okay.
Location.
Variable, for example, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have variable.location. Yes.
So the policy. What else do we need? I think that's all for the policy.
All right.
And also we will have a rule collection.
Yeah, this is where you define the rule, what you deny and allow, right?
Yes, correct. But we will put all the information later, after like we have created also the application gateway on the other resource or on the other VNet.
Okay.
Go in here. Let's put the firewall, the policy. Okay. The name. It will be just the firewall.
Yeah, and one of the question of users of the attendees, or not users, is how we handle multiple environments like TerraGrant. We have done a session about this, but this is a native workflow in Brainboard. And maybe if the time permits, we can show it how you can how you have all the functions of TerraGrant natively incorporated into Brainboard.
So for the SKU name, I'm going to copy it because
Yeah, a lot of, especially this one, I've never kept it in mind, even if it's like just simple.
we can use as well the hub. So there are two options that we can use, the VNet or the hub.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is an option that Azure provides that we can as well use that. So let's configure here the policy.
All right, this is how you link the policy with the firewall. Okay.
Yes, correct. So let's do it like this. So it's a bit more like, and also I'm configuring at the firewall.
What is good is like I'm learning as well as you are building. And this is good, for example, if there are colleagues that have different knowledge and different levels of the cloud and Terraform. It's really cool that they learn from each other and then collaboratively build infrastructures.
So in here, I'm using the public IP that I created, and also like adding the information for the subnet, because this block over here needs the subnet, the configuration of the subnet, let's say.
Okay, the subnet you are in. Okay.
Yeah, the subnet that I'm in. So.
All right.
Yeah, I have everything for the firewall, I think.
Okay. Yeah, and I remember I had a discussion with you about the SKU of the firewall. There is premium and standard, as far as I remember, right?
Yes. Yes, but the I use a premium because I know it has more possibilities and you can filter more and the security is higher. So I usually use that. But also standard, if you have like, if there is a small company, you don't have many sensitive data, you can as well use the standard.
Okay.
So
Arno is asking about, do you have predefined architecture template, shared library? Yes, we have shared library. This is in the templates catalog. And we will be sharing this architecture with you, that you can just clone it, modify it, use it, and own it.
Yeah. So in this case, for those of you who have like experience with firewalls and are wondering why I'm not like configuring it all, we'll configure it later because we will add the application rule collection if needed, but maybe in this case we won't need it. and also the net rule collection, because we will do the communication also for the part of the jump host. So also the network rule collection. So everything will be configured at the end so that we connect all these components that we are creating and everything makes sense and the flow of the information is the best secure. So after we configure the firewall, and as I said, we will go back, I will start with the configuration of the VPN.
Yeah. One of the questions someone asked, can you explain in deep what do you mean with secure? I think about the pattern is secure, and correct me if I'm wrong, Marsela, I'm learning from you. I'm using your own words. So the security is like you want to limit all what the traffic that comes to the infrastructure, and segregate, like the traffic that comes from the on-prem and from the entities that you trust goes into a specific endpoint, and all the public traffic goes to the firewall. Then you can limit, you can stop everything and just allow those that you want. Am I right?
Yes, you're right.
All right, perfect.
That's the point, yeah. So we are going to create, for the virtual network gateway, we will create another public IP.
Okay.
That will be used like from the dev team, from on-premise, they can use this IP. But they won't go like directly to what we need, to the gateway, to the application gateway. What they will do, they will go to the jump host.
Okay.
So the allocation method in this case will be dynamic. And the name. And yeah, I think that's all. After we have created this public IP, that's good. We will create the virtual network gateway.
Okay, this IP will be connected to the VPN configuration, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So now we will configure the VPN and
okay.
the location for the application.
And Neil asked the question, does the product cover 100% of Azure services? Yes, it covers 100% of Azure services. Whenever there is an update, actually it's Azure and Terraform, and whatever there is an update, it is added automatically, and you can switch the versions to specify the version. And in the configuration menu that you see, here you have all the parameters that are supported by both the cloud provider and Terraform. All right, and now the virtual network gateway. Okay.
This is the allocation method, which is.
And I guess that, yes, here where you connect the VNet gateway with the public IP address, right?
Yeah. The
okay.
second I created, yeah. And this is the subnet, gateway subnet.
Okay. And when you type the words in the suggestion, you have what is called the exported attribute of Terraform to help you quickly configure the resources.
Yeah, correct. So the VPN type. Okay. So I will configure also the VPN client configuration. So the address space. So I created an IP. For this, I didn't want to leave it as dynamic because I want to use it. So in this case, we have the client IP pool, and this IP that we can as well configure it in here. It's an IP that will be outside, let's say, the VNet and outside the IP ranges that we have in the VNet. So it's configured in the variables.
Okay. Yeah, and someone is asking, is Brainboard a complete design and configure tool? Yes, it's actually design, configure, and management of the cloud infrastructure. And this is what we are doing, design and infrastructure. We will be able to deploy it as well if the time permits, at least maybe show you how you can trigger deploy, apply, destroy, and you can manage it as well. And by the way, when you finish, I'm curious to see how the Terraform code looks like, because you have been configuring the resources, putting real information in it, and I want to see the face of the Terraform code.
Yeah, we can see it as well now. So every time that we're changing something and we're creating like new resources, the Terraform code is generated automatically. This is the coolest part in this platform. I
Okay,
know,
yeah.
maybe not the coolest. We have other surprises. So one of the coolest things in this platform that the code is generated.
Yeah, even for the nested parts, like
Yeah.
IP configuration and
Yeah.
certificate as well. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because this is how what I do usually, because I like to check the code. This is one of the reasons why also the landing zones were created, because people want to have control over what they are building, what they are deploying. So also I want to see the code from time to time so that I'm sure what I'm deploying and if it looks like the way that I want it to look. So I have a look from time to time to this part over here, and I know that the configuration that I've done it's correct.
Yes.
So this is really nice for those who like code. So I think we configured also the virtual network gateway. Now quickly
Yeah.
let's
As we are talking about the code, one of the questions I think of Luis is it all put in one file, consolidated in one file, main.tf? In the generation, yes, but you can specify different files. You can slice the infrastructure actually into different files. You just group the resources and you specify a different file name. And one of the questions as well, like, does it add dependency depends on and conditions? Yes, it can be added. So there are a lot of questions related to the product, even if the purpose is to show the landing zone. Feel free, guys, if you want really to understand about how Brainboard works, to reach out to one of our cloud architects.
Yeah, I think we'll probably have another session, like to check all the questions. I just have maybe just questions and respond to them.
Oh yes, this is the gem host. You are configuring the gem host, right?
Yeah, I can use as well the Bastion host, but because as cloud architect, I also consider the costs, and because I added a layer of security with the VPN, like everybody's the developers and on-premise are connecting with VPN. I think that the Linux, like the virtual machine Linux or Windows, does its job and like provides the security and the opportunity to connect to the spoke. Then I created just a virtual machine inside a subnet that will be used as a dump host.
Okay, yeah, because we can, if we don't care about the cost, we can use the jump host, but as a cost is part of the decision process, you put it this way.
Yeah, because
Very
Bastion
nice
host
tips.
can be expensive. So
Someone is asking about the modules. Yes, John Gomez. Yes, you can pull from existing modules as well and use them. You can import your module. You can build your own catalog of modules inside.
yeah, I was thinking to use the modules too here. And if we're doing a complex architecture for the landing zone, we can as well use every module, also the CAF modules, we can incorporate them here and create also our own modules. So Brainboard also supports that.
Yeah, and this is a very good use case when you have a complex architecture that you want to package resources in modules and use them. You can combine them.
I put an IP also for the dump host because I want to connect it later with the rules of the policy.
Okay.
Just to understand why I'm doing all this configuration, and also I'm putting a subnet, like the dump host subnet. And I think we're done with the part of the hub.
All right.
Yeah, time flew fast, as I see.
Okay, but to me, it's really, really great. I'm learning from a lot of things that I didn't know, and like in a few minutes, we're able to build the first stack and now move into the next one.
Yeah, it's really fast. We can do it really fast. And what is really helpful for me, because okay, I have experience in like as a cloud architect and also as a Terraform developer, but it's really helpful when I'm able to visualize it. Because okay, the first time that you are building something, if it is simple, then you can create and you can have the schema in your mind. But when you scale and when you make it more complex and add more resources, it's a bit difficult like to keep that schema. So it's really helpful that I'm able to see like this configuration for now. I don't need like to spend a lot of time and think what I'm putting in this subnet and the other, because I'm able to see it and like just drag and drop. For example, now that I'm adding the flexible server. Oh, before I go to the flexible server, I forgot something. So the part when we're putting a database inside a subnet, we need to configure the delegation. And I'm going to show you a little trick how I also work with Brainboard, because I don't remember the service and the action that I have to do, like the specific name and write everything. I would have to go to the Terraform registry or to the Terraform documentation and check everything. So from here, from this window over here, if I click to open the documentation, I can go to the Terraform registry of that resource. And I will come here because this is the service delegation that I have to do. Like in here, I also have the options. At the end, I have the options. So mine, it's DB for MySQL for a flexible server. So I'm going to see this.
A very nice shortcut
Yeah.
to get the values. And this is actually something that I personally like in Brainboard as well, that I have the documentation of the resource right there, accessible quickly. And I used as well to pick the values from the documentation.
I think I did it wrong. Yeah, it's the name and the action itself.
Yeah, yes, it's
to join to the subnet. Yeah,
exactly.
This is them.
Someone is asking what CI/CD tools does it integrate with? We have our native native CI/CD tool, and we'll be releasing a very revolutionary CI/CD engine in the next days, weeks. So stay tuned. The next week will be hot.
Yeah, I'm really also excited to like see the reaction of everybody when they will see the CI/CD. I don't want to spoil it and say something, but it will be really cool. I wouldn't like use Brainboard if I wouldn't think that it's really cool. So, and also Brainboard is using Brainboard, right?
Exactly, deployed by Brainboard.
Yeah, I remember one day somebody asked me, like, is Brainboard using Brainboard to deploy its own infrastructure? Yeah, it's using Brainboard.
Can you zoom a bit on the subnet you are working on, that we see what you are doing and the configuration? Yes.
So, okay, flexible server. I'm adding this flexible server and I hope this is intuitive also for the others as it is for me.
I'm personally learning really, because like I didn't do a configuration like this for the enterprise, going through the firewalls with the VNet, with the Kubernetes cluster and the database and KeyVault. So yeah, and we hope that this is the purpose, sharing knowledge with the community, and it's a session where we all learn from each other. The name of the CI/CD, we call it CI/CD engine, Brainboard CI/CD engine. Someone asked us about can we spoil about the name of the CI/CD? We can give you the name. It's called Brainboard CI/CD engine, but the idea of building the CI/CD is completely different. What we are used to do is to configure it through YAML, all the CI/CD, but what we are building is completely different. You are going to see it in the next coming days.
So I'm cheating a little bit in here and copying the SKU name at least. But we will create, because for the flexible server to communicate and to be accessible also from the developers and from Kubernetes, we need a private DNS. So we will create also the private DNS as part of the database. The private DNS.
So yes, why do you need a private DNS? Out of curiosity.
Yeah, I need that to connect to this database, to this platform as a service. So it's part of how Azure like builds things, and also the platform as services, that if you need to connect to it, you need to have like a private DNS that will have also in the name that is configured from Azure, and you will see that the private DNS needs to have like MySQL, database, Azure. So this is how Azure is configured, and also for the connection with Kubernetes and the connection from the developers, let's say. We need this private DNS. So private DNS zone. Put it in here.
Okay.
And the name.
Yeah, this is where things get tricky about name.
Because I've struggled with these things like for some time, when I was doing this also manually, and when I was doing this with only Terraform. So you learn this by experience, and you know that you have to put this MySQL database azure.com, otherwise it won't work. And everything will be part of this private DNS.
Okay, it makes sense to me now, like that you explain it and show it. Okay, got it.
So we need now to connect this private DNS to the VNet.
Oh, and yeah, let me guess, it's a connection between, yes.
Yes, it's a connection between these two, yeah. So I'll call it as just link to VNet. And we'll have the private DNS that we created. Okay, but DNS zone, we just have one.
Yeah, we got a good question. Someone is asking, is it an internal DNS to the company different than the public one? And is it accessible over VPN?
It is different from the public one. Yes, okay. It is accessible. Yes, it is accessible over the VPN. So that's the main point. So that's because when you are here, let's say, okay, let's explain it like this. And if I'm like explaining and too much and I get excited, just stop me, because when I want to explain something logically, I really get excited. So because the connections from the VPN will come to this subnet, to this jump host, to this virtual machine, it can access everything that is in here.
All right.
But from outside, you need to do some translation, let's say, of this DNS, and use a public DNS, and then translate it to this private DNS and connect to it if you want to connect directly to this private DNS.
And I'm really happy about the attendees asking a very technical question and deep questions. I really love it. I'm an engineer myself, and I really enjoy technical questions as I learn from the community as well. Okay, now you connect the private DNS with the database. I see.
Yes. So after that, what we are doing here. So now we will configure the Kubernetes cluster. We will configure the application gateway and also the KeyVault. So this is all that we need. And after that, we will put the rules in the policy rules so that we make possible the whole communication and that the connections from the users will come to the firewall and go to the Kubernetes. So let's jump to the Kubernetes.
Yeah, someone is asking, is it similar if we do AWS? Brainboard natively support AWS, Azure, GCP, OCI, and Scaleway. So you can do any architecture for any cloud provider. Just you select another cloud provider and you do it. And by the way, we will be doing all the sessions on AWS and OCI and GCP and Scaleway. And we took it to the next level. Brainboard has been designed from the ground up in multi-cloud in mind, which means in the same architecture, you can combine different cloud providers and architectures from different cloud providers.
I'm having a look at this, what to configure, because...
Yes, yeah, Kubernetes, it's a complete complex thing. So the parameters is like one of the most complex parameters that you can have.
Yeah, I'm thinking to put like 3 nodes.
And I think, yeah, and I wonder how the communication goes from the firewall to Kubernetes. Do you need something in between, or it's direct, like from the firewall to the cluster?
So it will go through from the firewall, from the user to the firewall, then let's say to the VNet peering. It will come to the virtual network. Then it will go to the application gateway, which is like a load balancer for the Kubernetes cluster.
Okay.
And we will connect this load balancer to the ingress load balancer of Kubernetes. And this is how the communication will be done. Okay. This is the flow.
So like, yeah, all right. So, and why you go through the application gateway and not directly to Kubernetes, for example, cluster?
We can as well do that, but because we want to have like high availability, we want like to offer this load balancer. It's better to have like a layer in the middle, let's say between the firewall and the Kubernetes cluster, so that the whole traffic is filtered, but also is distributed in the right way.
All right. Okay, it makes sense. And this is maybe what you'll be building after Internet Application Gateway, right? Okay.
Yes. So let's check what configuration to put in the Kubernetes. So I'm going to put the name.
All right, and someone is saying that it's a tough competition to Lucid. Actually, what we are building is more than designer. It's a complete cloud management solution, and you're going to see it with the CI/CD engine. It's going to be really revolutionary.
So now I'm doing what I know how to do best, like checking the code, what I forgot.
Yes.
I'm checking what did I forget here that is mandatory. We have also the information is mandatory. So I think I need to, on the identity.
Okay.
The type of the identity should be system assigned. Copy it.
And maybe it's a good suggestion. Maybe if we can do a session to zoom only on Kubernetes, all the different parameters and how we can secure it, because it's a complete system. You have monitoring, egress, ingress, database, networking stack.
Correct. And there are many things that can be done in Kubernetes also with Terraform. So as long as they can be done with Terraform, they can be done also with Brainboard. So yeah, that would be a good point. We can do a session with that.
Yeah, and we have one of the questions is asking, Azure front door is preferred over an application gateway for AKS. why are we preferring application gateway? Is it because of regional purpose?
We can use both.
Yeah.
So it depends on different scenarios. It depends what other needs can be. I'm not saying that this is like the perfect and the best scenario. This is one of the scenarios with what I had in mind, just thinking of a good way to create a landing zone. But of course, that's
And this is what we said at the beginning, that we are showing alternatives, that you have the component and you can replace the batteries that you want to replace, and keep it as it is if you want. But this is a good suggestion, actually, yes, to use the front door. I don't know if the in terms of cost is there is someone cheaper than the other. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know that either.
Yeah. Okay.
Now I'm going to create a KeyVault. So we will put the KeyVault here. Add KeyVault.
And so, what do you use the KeyVault for?
To store secrets.
Okay, I mean, it's simple as this. Yes.
Like KeyVault. KeyVault. I don't think it will take this as a name. KeyVault. I think it also doesn't allow like underscores. So KeyVault demo, it's good. For this SQL, it's standard.
Yeah, and I know like the KeyVault could be complete architecture, a separate one. Mm-hmm. We already have one, I think, in the template catalog.
Yeah, I've built one too. I think also in the last architecture that we published, I think, yeah, the KeyVault is there. So now I'll show that part for the tenant ID. That I need to take that tenant ID, but I don't want to put the information here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another resource that will be client config. I'm going to take it as data. I'm going to take this resource here and just
here you use the data, not the. Okay.
Yeah, I did that on purpose so that I can take the information for the tenant ID.
Okay.
This way, by putting the resource name current, I'm taking the current like tenant ID, and I'm taking the whole information for the client config, and I can take the tenant. This is really cool, right?
Yes.
So I will need also a private endpoint. No, wait, I'm still in data.
Yeah, you said it like right when someone asks about what about connecting to the KeyVault privately using private endpoint, and yes, here is. Yeah, and rephrasing answer the question, and this is it. Like the subnet fee is about the private endpoint.
Everything that you are seeing that we are building here will be part of a template. Even if I miss something like during this demo, in the template, it will be there.
Yes, the live usually is, and we are already, it's already over time, like 6 minutes over time. So yeah, we have a lot of people with us, so we can keep going. And in all cases, it will be recorded and on YouTube and LinkedIn, so we can go until building a complete landing zone.
So in here, we want to take the information for the tenant ID, and the way we will do it is using this resource that we created and the tenant ID. It recognizes that one of the output values, let's say, of the tenant of the client config, it's the tenant ID, so we can use it.
Yes, and one of the attendees is asking like, it's time for Terraform plan, then apply. Yes, you can do Terraform plan.
We can do that.
Yes,
just to show it.
Yeah.
There will probably be errors, but
Yeah, as we didn't complete the configuration.
yeah, we will do that then.
Yeah, we have a Kubernetes cluster. I think if we do the plan, it's going to take at least 30 minutes. Yeah, but we can do plan just to show.
We can do it because, yeah, you see, I forgot some.
Yeah, for the virtual machine,
Let
I
me
think.
see. I probably didn't. Okay, let's do it like this. Because I want to show also errors. It's fine showing errors.
Yes.
Like for now, I'm going to turn this into an icon. It's fine, right?
Yep.
But just to show like the Terraform plan, because I want you to understand and everybody to understand that the output from Brainboard is the output that you would get from Terraform plan. So even errors are still fine. We can work on errors.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of errors, which
I
are
think some of them for the variables, that are not populated.
Yeah, so it's fine because we will add the information. But this is how we do the Terraform plan, and then after we see that everything is okay, we can put the Terraform apply, and then destroy in the same way that we're used to do it also in by using just Terraform.
Yes, and actually, the one who asked about Terraform plan, he said, Arno said it never works on first plan, which is true. Especially it's when it's a complex infrastructure.
Yeah, so we can work and fix everything because,
Yes,
as I told you, yeah, we will work together. It's like how I'm working. So the KeyVault. But if we do the apply, because I tried it, it will take forever.
Yeah.
Especially for the VPN. And those who have like created virtual network gateways, they know how long it takes. So
All right. Can you zoom a bit on I think the key vault that you are configuring?
yes.
That we can see. And I think later it will be the application gateway.
So the private endpoint. It's manual connection. No, it's not. KeyVault.
And we have a question about what is safe in the Terraform state file. How do you fix any discrepancy in state files? Yeah, actually, one of the attendees as well asked, like, it's more to show Brainboard than the Terraform. Actually, the questions that comes because people are curious and looking for new ways. It looks like we're showcasing Brainboard. Part of it's true, we're showcasing Brainboard. The other part is also sharing the knowledge. And this is something that we do regularly. So for the state files, actually, you have the possibility to use a remote backend for the state file. So if you are using Azure, you can put the state file as the remote backend as blob storage, or if you want to use the native one, which is stored on Brainboard cloud. Brainboard infrastructure. You can keep it. When there are errors, actually, you can version if you use it on your blob storage, you can version your Terraform state, and this is the purpose that you prevent discrepancies with different mechanisms with the lock-in. Even if the lock-in is present in Brainboard, but you can and version as well, that you can roll back to any specific version that you want. So that's it. All right, and now the private gateway, and I guess now you will be connecting the firewall components with the application gateway.
Now I'm going to create the application gateway, like connect first the Kubernetes to the application gateway, and then we will configure the firewall policy rule collection group. And yeah, that's all we're doing in this architecture. So
we have one of the question, will Brainboard ever interact from a Terraform provider standpoint with private cloud endpoints like Cisco, VMware, and so on? Actually, these cloud providers are not natively supported in Brainboard. We are planning to add them, but they are not supported now. But you have a way to, through the custom, what is called the custom resource that you, by the way, you are seeing on the left bar, the last one. Through the custom resource, you can add any resource, even if it's not supported by Brainboard, for any provider you want. All right, so, okay, the protocol. I don't know the protocol every time, like the H has to be capital letter, right? Or
I confused in time too.
yeah, sometimes I used to write it lowercase and spend, I think, 10 minutes looking for what's the error until I realized that we need to write a capital letter.
Now we will configure the front end IP.
Okay. And I think this front end IP that you will be using somewhere, right? I don't remember where exactly.
Yes, I will use it on the firewall.
Okay. Oh, yes, this is where you connect you route the traffic into the application gateway. Okay.
And I have this variable because I put a static IP on this one because I'm going to use it in the rule, and it was easier this way.
Okay.
This will be static.
Yeah, and through the questions that we have, it's like I realize that I'm really happy that we have people are exchanging a lot of suggestions and alternatives, and because also there are different use cases and different implementation.
Yeah, I wish I could see like the questions, but I will see them later and answer.
Yeah, I'm your assistant today, reading the questions for you and trying to challenge a bit. The gateway. Okay.
Yeah, this has a lot of configurations. Like, it needs really focus to understand, because even the resource itself from Terraform, because it's a big one, it has a lot of components that we need to configure. So HTTP listener, the protocol will be.
That's why I didn't want to ask a lot of questions here, because I know you are focusing on the configuration.
Yeah, because in here we are like adding the configurations for what we configured, also in the other blocks. But let's see. Name.
Yeah, and one of the suggestions as well was to add, like, how to say, the help to help the users, like add a either description for the configuration fields, or even predict what the user should do. And I see the value now. Like, the next step of Brainboard is going through helping the cloud architects and DevOps and designers to get it quicker.
Yeah, I think we will make it possible, because I know we have discussed it also with the CTO, and that is possible. So we will probably do it soon.
Yes, and someone is saying that he said that actually we are stealing some design experience from Marsela. So this is the purpose, actually, sharing, and we really love. So if someone as well want to build architectures live, we are happy to support. This is what we do. We really invest time, energy, and money to share the knowledge and help the community grow. We all learn from each other. So, with a big pleasure. Yeah, and one of the suggestions is prevent misconfiguration and enforce security, configuration, and compliance. Definitely one of the biggest added value that we can have.
But we will have security. We will have also so many security checks with the CI/CD.
Yes, exactly. I didn't want to spoil, but yes.
But at least we can say that it will have security things. Yeah.
And I'm curious to see the Terraform code that is generated for the application gateway. Actually, there are a lot of parameters to set for the application gateway.
Backend address, it will be Kubernetes. So you will be checking all the configuration that I'm doing here. I think after this session, we will publish it.
Yes.
So that everybody can select the exact configuration that you are also seeing here.
Yeah, and maybe we can use variables to give the maximum flexibility in terms of usage. Like, anyone can just take the architecture, change the variables, and ready to deploy.
Yeah, because also the variables are already configured. Let me end this last part and show the variables. Capacity, I'm putting 2. So the name, small, and tier, it's standard. I think we're done here.
Yes, actually, we are 1 hour 20 minutes. What is just maybe we can add 10 minutes to finish the remaining points.
Yeah, so that we know at least what we are going to configure for this one. So for the code, for those who were curious about the code,
I was curious about the application gateway, how it looks like. I mean, this is the last one is the application gateway, right?
yes, the last one.
All right.
So yeah,
I think I think we are done with the architecture. Is there anything remaining?
there's always something remaining, always things that we can add. What we have to do now is on the Kubernetes cluster, we need to configure the application gateway.
Okay.
Because we need to add it there too. Let me check where is the configuration. Application gateway. Remember that we have some search.
Yes, there is.
This was easier.
Okay, here you connect the cluster directly to the gateway. One of the questions was as well, like, do we connect the Kubernetes cluster or the pod? Yeah, but here you can configure it. You can connect it directly with the
application gateway.
Okay.
And we can as well get the gateway name. Okay, let's add the name in the end. That name. And this is all. And now we're also done with the Kubernetes cluster. Oh, I think yeah, I did a mistake here. It was not the right gateway.
Yeah,
So
after 1 hour and a half going through the configurations.
I saw that I was doing some mistake. Like imagine doing it and like applying and everything, but because I had the schema, that was really good because I was able to see it.
Exactly.
This is the application gateway. Yeah, virtual network gateway.
Yes.
Gateway, that name. So now it's okay. These two are connected to each other. Now the last part, what we need to do. The firewall policy rule collection group.
Okay.
We need to configure.
And here where you can direct the traffic into the application gateway. I'm trying to follow you, so asking the question to make sure I'm following it.
Yes, correct. So let me check. Natural. So for the natural first. Let's put a name. Action would be enough. This is the only possible action on the natural collection. For the priority, I would put just 100. And then we will have a rule inside of it. So I'll put the destination port of 80.
Oh yeah, the action is the NAT. Okay.
Yeah, the protocol. Let me have a look. It's TCP.
And I think yes, it is TCP is just, is it like just T capital letter or the
Yes.
whole word? Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just the T, sometimes it's all the word.
Destination port. I'm also putting 80. Like destination address. For the destination address. For the public IP, I created a variable so that I don't like let everything. I won't depend on the dynamic allocation of the IP, so I created a static IP.
Okay.
Also, because I was trying to configure all this, it's probably some. It was not possible from when I was trying to deploy everything. So, with the public IP, with the pre-configured public IP, it's easier. So, we also put the name. Just the rule. The source addresses, we'll put start. So all the traffic that is coming. And translated addresses. We go to the gateway. So this is the application gateway IP.
Okay. Okay. As all right. You put it as variable as well.
Yes, I put it as variable. Because also I wanted to like define the IP.
Okay.
Also for the network rule collection. That's the action will be allow rule. Let's hit like 200. The source address.
One of the jokes of the attendees is about YAML yelling at my laptop. I love it.
jump hosts. This is the connections that will come from the jump host. Source addresses, source IP groups, destination addresses. Of course, it will be the gateway.
Okay, the same IP. Yeah, it's variable. Okay.
Just a second here. IP groups. Destination port. We can put 80, but also I'm thinking to put like 443.
Oh, it's a list. Yeah, okay, you can put as many ports that you want to. Okay.
So we have the name, network, with network rule. The protocol is still TCP. And I think
we are good.
Yeah. I think we managed like to create everything.
Yes. And you have 1 minute. We have 1 minute left. 1 minute left. Yeah. So can you like wrap up just architecture to better understand it? From the landing zone, what does it mean? What all the components mean?
Okay. So what we created here is a simple landing zone that is based on just one subscription. We have here two resources, the resource group for the hub and for the resource group for the spoke. In this way, we offer some isolation of two networks, and we offer an architecture that can be scaled, that is structured better, that has different components. We have security in here. We have the firewall that makes possible that all the traffic goes through the firewall and it's filtered in the best way. We have a jump host so that we offer security for the developers that are connecting to the spoke network and the spoke resource group. And of course, we have the VPN because that's one of the most secure ways that we can connect to a network. After that, we have also the resource group for the spoke, where we have a Kubernetes cluster, an application gateway. We have the subnet. The Kubernetes cluster will be connected to the subnet, and it will be a whole architecture also from the application side. We have here also the KeyVault and the private endpoint for the KeyVault. So this architecture that we built here, as I said, can be scaled, can be managed from different teams, because one team can manage the resource group for the spoke, one team can manage the resource group for the hub. In Brainboard, we can do many things after this with this architecture. We can create a template that we will create the template out of it and publish it. And this template can be reused also from other teams and from other people. We can create versions of this architecture so that we have in one version, we have the network and then we add other components. So we can do a lot if we have a good base and if we have a good foundation, as this landing zone can be.
All right, that really thanks a lot for the explanation, for the effort, going through the details, and helping the community. Again, guys, feel free to reach out to Marsela if you want to really to deep dive into any specific use case. We will be happy to help. Our role here is to help cloud architects, DevOps, platform engineers, SREs, whatever you work on the infrastructure, we are ready to help. Thanks a lot again, Marsela. Thanks for everyone. The session is recorded, will be available on LinkedIn and YouTube. So we'll be happy to do another session as well. And have a great day or evening or night, wherever you are. And see you all in the next session.
Yeah,
Goodbye, all.
everybody. Bye.
Bye, Marsela.